Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hiking 101. I'm Amy Hope with Bayou City Outdoors and HTXoutdoors, and today we're going to take you through the basics that you need to get started hiking. But while we're waiting for the last few people to get started, I want to make sure you guys can find the chat area in case you have any questions along the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and put a question in there. Have you ever been hiking before? You should be able to find the chat box on the right-hand side of your page. If you're on your phone, hopefully the box flashed. I don't know exactly where it is on the phone, but go ahead in the comment section. Just let us know if you've been hiking before. Tell us a little bit about your experience. And if you're looking to get something specific out of today's event, go ahead and put it there, and we will try to make sure we cover it. All right, so Kay says yes, she's been hiking. Erica's yes. Kimmy, yes. Do you guys have any favorite trails that you like? Jennifer, yes. Sarah, no. All right, we're going to change that, Sarah. Get ready. Susan, yes. Jacqueline, yes. All right, we've got quite a few people who have been hiking already. So go ahead and let us know if you have any specific questions. I'm going to try to answer them at the end. Or if there's something that you want us to go over, let's do that. And if I don't cover it here, you can always put it in the comments section. If I forget at the end, just remind me with another question. Yes, the day hikes, Terry Hershey, if that counts. Terry Hershey definitely counts. There are trails over at Terry Hershey. It's not all paved paths over there, so there are dirt trails, like the Ant Hills is over there. I don't know if you've been on the Ant Hills specifically or not, but Memorial Park's another one where they have a walking trail and they also have hiking trails, so that's great too. All right, I'm a beginner. I've only been with others, no real equipment. Want to know how to do it the right way, how to select proper gear, poles, etc. All right, we're going to cover some of that today, and then at the very end of today's presentation, we have a special announcement. We're doing something new that we've never done before, so stay to the end so that you can hear all about that. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, there's a myth that I hear all the time about Houston, and that there are no trails in Houston. And I just wanted to clarify, we just went through a couple right there in the beginning with the Ant Hills, and Memorial Park actually has dirt trails, and that's inside the loop. There's several dirt trails that are in the greater Houston area that get you away from the city, put you into nature, and makes you feel disconnected, from the digital world and connected to the environment. So, I think it's just about adjusting expectations, and I completely understand. Houston's a transplant state. Many of us, including myself, we lived in multiple locations. I lived in Phoenix. I lived in North Carolina. I've traveled a ton. So I know what it's like to feel like hiking. In order to hike, you need a vista point. You have to go up a big mountain. I get that. But if you appreciate what Houston has to offer, then you'll have a whole new perspective on Houston and a whole new experience for your hiking. For example, there's tons of wildlife out here, and wildflowers. You just kind of have to look around. It's definitely going to be different, but you're still connecting yourself to nature. You're still getting your exercise in. You're not surrounded by cars. You're not, sometimes if you're on a mountain bike trail, you might see some mountain bikers, but you can get to places that aren't super crowded, and enjoy nature. So with that in mind, Texas in general has tons of wildflowers, tons of flora to look at while you're on hikes. There's an app called iNaturalist that if you don't know what you're looking at, you can take a picture, upload it into the app, and usually the app has so much information in there that it can identify what you're looking at right away. And if not, they have experts out there that go through all the unanswered photos, and they go through and tell you what it is. They do the same thing with animals. So if you find on the trail like a a turtle or a snake or some kind of weird bug or something, you can take a picture of it, upload it in there. So there's lots of wildlife out in Houston on the trails and stuff too. We've got, deer, there's a lot of rabbit, turtles, um, alligators. Alligators are actually kind of fun to hike with. It brings a different element to hiking. I know they can be scary, but in general, with all wildlife, even if you're doing the big Vista Point big hikes, you're going to be around, you're going to be in the woods with bears and mountain lions. So what's an alligator, right? If you think about it from that perspective, if you just leave them alone, more than likely they're going to leave you alone. Okay, so we're going to go through a little bit more about wildlife. When you're planning your hike, you're going to want to make sure you know what type of wildlife to expect on your hike so that you know how to react if you do encounter that. The app that I talked about to identify the wildlife and the flowers is called iNaturalist. Thank you, Erica. Yeah, and they have some fun contests on there too. So it's a cool app. It's for a good cause. All right. So before you go hiking, before you do anything, you're going to want to know what to bring with you and how to prepare. So we're going to go through some of these things today. So when you're planning your hike, the very first thing that you're going to want to do when you're looking at a trail that you want to do is you're going to want to download the map and print it. And I say print it because sometimes, even if you're not going that far away from the city, you might not have reception. So if you've never hiked before, if you're going by yourself, especially if you're going by yourself, or if you're going with other people who aren't familiar with the trail, you want to always have a map with you. So download that map because you might not have reception. And you know what? Your phone might actually die. You might have used that iNaturalist app too many times on your 3-mile hike, and all of a sudden your battery's dead. So go ahead and download the map so you know exactly where you are. And you want to look at the map, look at the trail beforehand, right? If you're going to come up to intersections, have a general idea. You don't have to memorize it, but have a general idea of what you're looking for while you're hiking. Before you go on your hike, you're also going to want to check the websites for any alerts. If you're going to a state park, for example, state parks are a great place to start hiking. The trails are very maintained, very well maintained. They have maps that are pretty updated. You ask the park rangers when you walk in, are there any trail closures? Usually they already mark it out on the map for you, but just in case, just ask when you check in, can I have a map? Are there any trails that are closed? What are the current conditions? And they'll mark out the trails that are closed, and they'll also let you know, 2 days ago we have a heavy rain, so you might see extra water on this particular trail or whatnot. You're also going to want to check the weather. Make sure there's no flash flood warnings if you're going to be in an area where there's a creek or a river or a lake, or thunderstorms or heavy winds or anything like that. So check the weather before you go. And then one that may not be as obvious to many people, especially if you're not a hunter, is it hunting season? Hunting season hunting seasons all the time for different types of animals. I'm not up to speed on all of them, but deer hunting season is the big one that starts in November, end of October, beginning of November, something like that. Goes through February, somewhere around there. Some trails will actually close during hunting season. And then other trails, they don't close because you're not allowed to hunt on that trail, but there might be hunting close by. And so while you're hiking, you can hear the gunshots going. So it's not the most, it could be a little unsettling if you weren't expecting it. Let's put it that way. So just check the hunting season. Outside of deer season, there's other game that's available, during hunting season. So just know where you're going, what's allowed in that area. Okay, what to bring with you? That map that you just printed, and we talked about that already. Water, you want to make sure you have plenty of water, especially in the beginning. If you don't know exactly how much water you're going to drink on a particular length or hike, then you want to make sure that you're bringing a little bit extra. You do have to be careful with water and bringing extra water, though, because water is heavy. It weighs 2.2 pounds per liter. So water does get heavy. And so you kind of have to weigh balance between how much water you need to drink, having extra, and how much can you carry. So in order to do that, what you're going to do is you're just going to go on shorter hikes in the beginning, figure out how much water you're drinking, and how much you can carry, and then you can slowly extend. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. You're also going to want to wear sturdy shoes. And don't wear, if it's a long hike, don't wear new shoes, okay? So you want to break your hiking boots, any new hiking boots, you want to break them in slowly. So you're going to wear them around the house, you're going to wear them around the neighborhood. You're going to slowly like work up the mileage in any new shoes so that if they're rubbing on your ankle in a particular way that you weren't expecting, you're not on a 5 miles into a 10-mile hike that you can't do anything about it. Okay, so wear sturdy shoes, break in your new shoes. Always bring some snacks. You just kind of never know. Like even if you're going on a short hike, sometimes like you just start hiking, and if you didn't hydrate, well the day before, or you had a late start and you didn't really grab a good breakfast, sometimes you get really hungry on the trail and you start feeling it. So just bring a little snack, a little bit, like a bar or an orange or something like that. So those are good to give you a little extra energy burst. And then you always want to have some kind of sun. You always want to have sun protection. And then depending on, how you are with bugs, bug protection. For sun and bugs, I do like to wear long pants and long sleeves when possible. Also a hat. This is going to help keep the bugs out of your clothes. It's going to help keep the sun off your skin. I do also, depending on where I'm going, I will put extra bug spray on and sunblock. Now, if I'm going to go someplace that has ticks, I'm going to put bug spray. I'm going to spray it around, where my pants, like right underneath my pants at the bottom. I'm going to spray them around my waistband, like under my shirt, around my waistband, and around my collar. So I'm going to make sure that all the places like under my skin, right where my clothes open up, are going to have a little bit of bug spray. Sometimes I still get bit, but but it definitely is going to help. And I think sometimes they just kind of ride along with you and then fall off later. So just you'll start knowing which trails have more ticks and what types of bugs they have and stuff too. Okay. So before you start hiking, everybody's probably got some kind of goal in their mind, right? Like either there's a big trip that you want to do, or keep seeing pictures of this big mountain or Yosemite, or Grand Tetons or Machu Picchu or Big Bend, and you're like, oh, I want to go do that. Or even if it's just like, you want to start hiking 5 miles a few times a week just around town to get extra exercise. The important thing to remember is that you want to gradually work your way up with the distance that you're going and the amount of weight that you're carrying. Because remember, we talked about the water and how heavy it is. Well, as you increase your distance, you're gonna have to increase your water. You're gonna have to increase your food. You're gonna increase the type of first aid kit that you bring, the food that you're bringing. You're probably going to throw in a couple extra layers, if you're going on a 10-mile hike than you would if you're going on a 3-mile hike. And then, so you're going to want to make sure that you're working towards increasing your distance, but then you back your distance back down and work on increasing the amount of weight that you can carry. Rich, you asked, do we use permethrin I don't know how to say it, but yes, I've heard that works really well as a natural one. I haven't used it, so I can't speak to it. I need to get some though, because I get bit by every single bug that's out there. And so I need to try it because I'm a good tester. I sometimes joke that when I lead an event, an extra benefit that you get is that I'm your bug protection because they all come and bite me. Okay, we talked about breaking in your shoes already. You're gonna start in more popular areas your first time. I just watched a video of a girl who's trying to get more comfortable hiking by herself, but she went to a trail that isn't traveled very often. Now, I didn't have very much background on her story, so maybe she had been going by herself in populated areas and then switched. But when you're first going out and when you're by yourself, it's better to stay in more populated areas if you can. Of course, everybody's going to want to eventually graduate into, hiking on the more remote trails, but just make sure that you're comfortable, you've done all your research on that area, and you know what the trail is. So get comfortable on more popular trails or trails that have easy access to get on and off in case something does happen, that you're not stuck in the middle of the wilderness, that hardly sees any people. And then when you're first starting out, you want to try to determine how fast you're walking. So I like to say just kind of walk. It depends. Everybody's starting at a different place, right? So you either walk around the block and get one, there's tons of free apps out there like MyFitnessPal or Map My Run or, your Fitbits or your smartwatches or anything like that. Just walk around the block and record it and see what your pace is. See how long it took you. Notice how you felt. Were you tired? Could you keep going? If you can do a mile, do a mile. Walk a mile as, don't run it, but like do a swift walk for a mile and then take note of how quickly did you do it. This is going to help you start gauging how much time you need to plan and the distance that you can go. And then always, always, always add buffer time. Add buffer time and add buffer distance to whatever hikes that you plan. So many times you think, I'm going to go out for this 3-mile hike. It'll take me, an hour. And then all of a sudden you make a wrong turn. It's a 4-mile thing. And the last mile was all uphill and it took you 2.5 hours to do it. Right. And then it becomes a matter of, well, did you have enough supplies for that 2.5 hours, that extra hour and a half that you weren't planning for? And water becomes a big part of that situation. So, I usually plan for myself. I plan 30-minute miles, and I always add at least an extra mile to what I plan to do, just in case. Sometimes, the trail maps, they're not always 100% accurate with the mileage. Sometimes you have to walk around, the trail, a tree falls down, you got to walk around it. Maybe a parking lot is closed, so you start further away than you were planning. You never really know. So that's what I do. 30 minutes a mile, it depends on how many miles I'm going. If I'm doing about 3 miles, I can do 20-minute miles. If I'm going to do 5, I'll probably do like 22-minute miles. But regardless, I always plan 30 minutes. It's going to give me time. If I see something interesting, I can stop. I can take pictures. I can take breaks. I like to have lunch on the trail, so I want to add buffer time for that as well. All right, now the day of the hike, before you leave the house, or definitely before you leave the house, you want to tell somebody where you're going and what your estimated time of arrival to return is. Because sometimes if you wait till you get to the trail, you're not going to have reception. And then if you're by yourself, people might not know where you are or, when to expect you to get home. Always leave some buffer room so you don't scare your friends or your family. And make sure that you check in with them when you get back. Like, don't forget, especially if you told them, hey, if I'm not back by now, like call the park ranger, right? So they don't have to, you don't have to give them that specific of instructions, but let them know like which park you're going to, which trails you think you're going to do, and roughly what time you think you're going to be back or whatnot. And just, especially if you're going by yourself. If you're going with other people, it's not as necessary. It's not as important, because, so if something happens, usually one person can go back and get help. You're going to check the weather again. You're checking now for any last minute alerts. I never trust the weather more than 3 hours in advance. And even then, so I'm going to check 3 hours in advance. I'm going to check at the location if I have service right when I'm there. And if I have service, and it's a longer hike, I'm going to keep checking it, especially on days where it was calling for, if it's calling for a storm later in the day and I think I can get a hike in, I'm just going to keep checking it a little bit more frequently. If it says it's going to be sunny, all day today and tomorrow, I'm probably not going to check it after that, like once I get to the trail. Look for last minute alerts from the park. Sometimes they do scheduled burns, or if it rained a couple days before, a bridge might be out. It might take them a couple days to find that. So just check the state parks are really good at putting their alerts on the top of the page. The National Forest Service, they're not as good as having updates on their website. So you can try to call, but if it's a weekend, you might not get in touch with anybody. So that one's going to be a little bit harder. Make sure you're calling on Friday if you're hiking on the weekends, and get any updates from the National Forest Service. That's not the same. That's not the same as like the national park system. They're much better, but the National Forest System, it's very sparse, and there's no they're free. You just show up and there's like a billboard that with the trail map on it. It's not like you check in and pay to get on the trails. And then double check you have everything you need for your hike. So make sure you filled your water all the way up. You've got your shoes, you got good socks, and everything else that we've already talked about. If it does rain, a lot of trails close right after it rains. You really don't want to walk on wet trails because it causes erosion and it gets really expensive to fix. So if you're planning to do a hike, definitely check with the parks. Make sure that the trails are open. One place that's really good that for after it rains is the Arboretum. It just drains really well. If you know of other places that are sandy, like more sandy than dirt trails, they tend to drain well. I'd say, sometimes the Lone Star hiking trail is good, but other times it's not, just because you have to cross so many creeks that at the creek crossings, it could get really muddy and you can slide a lot. But there's other times where after a heavy rain, it's completely fine. So that one's kind of hit or miss, but you'll start learning some of that as you do research on the trails that you want to hike. Okay. Now, which way do you go? How do you find the trailhead, and how do you make sure you don't get lost? I think this is a big reason why a lot of people don't go hiking by themselves, or kind of they're nervous to get started. Is just that even when you have a map, sometimes you're just like, I don't even know where to go. All right. So we're going to start first with reading the map, or the different types of hikes that you can do. There's 3 main types of hikes that we talk about. You can do a loop where you start at where you go to the parking lot, you park, you start your hike from there, and basically you just do a loop back to your car. So you're starting and stopping at the same place, and you're never walking on the same part of the trail twice. Whereas in out and back, you're starting and stopping at the same point, but you're just going to walk on one trail to however far you want, and then you're going to turn around, you're going to walk the same trail back to your car. You'll use this for, let's say there's a trail, let's say there's it could even be a loop that's 10 miles long, but maybe you only want to do 4 miles that day. So you would walk in 2 miles, turn around, and go back 2 miles. And then you've got your 4 miles in. Now, one thing to remember about the out and back is that sometimes you want to plan how many miles you're going to do before you get there. Sometimes people just keep walking until they get tired and then they turn around. So just remember that once you turn around, you're only at the halfway point. Okay. So if you're turning around when you get tired because you've got all day, that might be too late. It might be really difficult, or unpleasant for you to walk all the way back when you're already tired at the halfway point. So make sure you turn around before you're tired. And let's say you plan to hike 6 miles, and when you get to mile 2, you're already feeling tired. It's okay to go ahead and turn around then and just do the 4 miles. Okay, so like if you're not sure that you can do the 6 miles, don't push yourself. Just turn around, stay safe, and go back. And then you can try it again another time, because sometimes even if you've done 6 miles before, but for whatever reason you're feeling super tired, you might just be more dehydrated than you have been in the past. And so your body's taking a heavier toll. And then the third type of hike is a through hike. And through hikes typically are for like really long distance hikes, such as the Appalachian Trail. That's about 22,000 miles, 2,200 miles long. But you could use the term for shorter hikes too. So basically you're starting at point A and you're going to end at point B. And so this type of hike requires a shuttle or a car. You need a car at the beginning, you need a car at the end. So you can either, if you're hiking with somebody, you both drive separately, park a car at each location, then you drive back to the first person's car. Some trails will offer shuttles. So I would drive my car to the end, get a shuttle back to the beginning. That way, when you're done with the hike, you don't have to sit there and wait for a shuttle. Your car is there. All right. So those are the 3 different types of hikes that you can plan. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this how to read a trail map right now, just because it's kind of small and it's confusing, but we're going to talk about some of the important pieces that all maps have. And then, we'll do some other stuff specifically on map reading. So every map is going to have some kind of legend on it. And this is going to tell you which one the trail is. And right now we're looking at an example from the Lone Star Hiking Trail. So this is section 1 of the Lone Star Hiking Trail, if anybody has been on that. So it's going to tell you that the black dotted line is the Lone Star Hiking Trail. I don't know what color that is. The red road is a road, but it's closed to cars. The thicker red one is a paved road, and etc. You've got the trail point, trailhead parking, and then the mileage markers. Okay. And then the trail mileage point. We're going to go through these. We're going to take a different look at the map. So if we look, and I'm going to see if I can turn this into a whiteboard. Can you guys see me circle the P on the map? Just let me know in the comments section if you can still see the map and me drawing. There we go. All right. So I circled the P. This is the beginning of the trailhead. That's where you would park. That's where you park your car. Now you can see that there are 2 colors of trails here. There's a yellow dotted line and there's a black dotted line. Down here in the blue writing, where I'm putting a box around it, it says that the orange dotted line is Little Lake Creek Loop. Okay, so that's the name of that trail. Versus over the black line, it says it's the Lone Star Hiking Trail. Okay, so And then when you look at, and then further, there's a red trail and there's an arrow and it says that there's the North Wilderness Trail. This isn't this is a more complicated map, just because there's a lot going on it. If you're hiking in a Texas state park, the map is going to be much simpler. Okay, but I wanted you to start seeing some of the different things and learning how to identify them. The Lone Star Hiking Trails is not going to be your first hike that you go out and do on your own, but it's a good example to see all the pieces together. Whereas like a state park map, it's not going to give you as much detail always as this does. But we're going to go through this one, and then later we'll go through different examples. Okay, so if your plan is to hike the Lone Star Hiking Trail, now you know that you want to follow the black dotted line on the map. Now, sometimes you need connectors. I'm not showing you the whole map here, but it does continue to go down and then it loops back over here. Or you could take a shortcut and take the red trail and go this way. Oh, sorry, I'm using my mouse and not the drawing. Or you can take the shortcut and follow the red trail and connect back to the Lone Star Hiking Trail. I don't know how to, oh, okay, I found the erase. All right, I think I found the erase. Oh, that's a bad erase. It's going to take me a long time to erase. Okay. The next thing, let's see. Oh, I can clear it. There we go. All right. Let's see what I have next. Okay. The next thing you want to look at on the trail is for your mile markers. So when you're planning your hike, you want to know what distance you're hiking. So this 3.2 that's here on the trail, that means that from the trailhead, the parking lot, so you've got this black dot right here. This black arrow. I'm drawing a black arrow at the black arrow, and then I'm drawing another black arrow at the bottom, pointing at the other the mileage pointer. So this trail is from point A to point B is 3.2 miles. Then this little blue trail, West Fork Park Trail, is 0.3 miles. So if you were going to do a loop and then come back on the orange trail, the Little Lake Creek loop, then you have another 3.05 miles. So you're going from this black indicator arrow to black indicator arrow, and the mileage in between, the number in between, is the mileage. If you didn't quite follow that, don't worry. We're going to have some other sessions where we go into map reading in more detail. It's kind of hard for me to show you, using my computer mouse. So we're going to do more specific map reading, but I just wanted you to start getting the gist of what the map looks like and what are all these different numbers and names and arrows and everything that's on the map when you see them. And we've already talked about the parking lots. Those are easier because they're on the legend. So the P's are the parking lots. Okay, and then the last thing when you're doing your hike, so now like you planned your hike, once you get on the trail, you're going to know that you're staying on the trail because the trail has mile markers on the trees. Not each park is going to have the trail marked in a different way. So this is the Lone Star Hiking Trail. A lot of the longer, more primitive trails, they're going to have these different colored tags on the trees, and they have them, every 0.10 or quarter mile or something like that. You're going to see a tag on the tree. Now, when we looked at the map, we saw there was a yellow and a black and a red trail. So when you're looking at the tree mileage markers, they're going to be different colors as well. They don't always correspond with the color on the map. So the Lone Star Hiking Trail is silver, while on the map it was black. But when you're looking at the map, you'll notice that at the intersections, you'll see different color markers on the trees, and then that's how you know which one to follow. All right, just as a reminder, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them into the comment section on the side. Again, don't worry if you got a little bit lost there. There's a lot that goes into map reading. And like I said, we're going to do something else along map reading. So now I just wanted to go through some of our favorite places to hike in Houston and a little bit about what to expect from them. The first one is the Houston Arboretum. I don't know if you guys have been seeing this one a lot pop up in your Facebook and news feeds. It's been really popular. They did a lot of work in the last couple of years redoing all of these boardwalks, creating some new trails, and just like building up the ecosystem there. It's amazing. You're always going to see some turtles. I think there's ponds in here. There's frogs, snakes, birds. And then they have different viewing stations throughout the park. So when you're hiking, you can stop at the observation booths. They tell you a little bit about what you can see there. It's just a really fun place. The trails are very well maintained. This is a perfect spot for beginners. It is flat. You can see on the top right picture, the top left picture, it's like a sandy dirt path, but it's very flat, well maintained. And then there's also some boardwalk access as well. There's one trail that does have a little bit of hills in it, but it's not very much. I think it's only like maybe a half a mile. So, and you don't have to go on that one. You can avoid it. So if it's your first time going out, this is a great place to just kind of get out, practice, reading the trail maps, and just start walking on something that's not concrete and with a ton of wildlife. Brazos Bayou is one of my favorite places. This is down on the east on the east side of town, east side of downtown. It's a paved path along the bayou, but they've got great wildflowers all along. In the park, there's some great open green spaces, and it's not very busy, hardly ever. So we've done some hiking Zen events out there where first we'll do a hike along the bayou, and then afterwards we do yoga in the park and relax, or you can have a picnic in the park afterwards. Brazos Bend State Park, that's down south. It's about 45 minutes from Houston. This is the alligator park. There's tons of alligators here. You can see one on the bottom left picture, just kind of hanging out on the trail. People do bring their dogs and stuff. You don't have too many problems. Just don't poke the alligators. Don't throw things at them. Don't feed them. Just keep your distance and keep hiking. But I even love this park in the winter. I just think each section of the park kind of looks a little bit different. You've got kind of like the swampy area. You've got tall grass area, a wooded area. There's tons of birds. We do a bird hike out there. One of our members also volunteers for Brazos Bend State Park, and she's a great photographer as well. And they've gotten some really good pictures of bald eagles and tons of different types of birds. So that's a good time. That's open to the public, so you can go to that anytime. Palmetto State Park. This is out west, about an hour from Katy. So Katy people who are looking for a little bit of a getaway, you can hit up Palmetto State Park or even Stephen F. Austin State Park. We're actually going to Palmetto State Park next weekend. We're going to go camping there. The San Marcos River runs through it, so you can do a little hiking. There's not a ton of trails out there, maybe about 3 miles. But then the San Marcos River runs through, so you can stay, have lunch. It's not bad for a day trip. It depends on how everybody's different and how much they want to drive for a day trip. So that's up to you. And then this is Little Lake Creek Loop. This is we just looked at this trail. It was the orange trail on the map that we just showed. So you can see how primitive it is. And there's no check-in, and you can see, actually, I was telling you that the trail markers are going to be different colors. So the Lone Star Hiking Trail was silver, and here you can see that Little Creek Little Lake Creek Loop is silver with this orange box in the middle. So right on the sign where it's telling you which way to go, it's telling you which color to look for that trail. Okay, so that's how you're going to know the difference between the trails. Okay, oops, ooh, I almost ended. All right, let me see if there's another one in here. Four Notch Loop Trail. This is another one that's kind of a loop off of the Lone Star hiking trail. This is a cool trail. It's about a 9 to 10 mile loop that you can do. It does have some ups and downs, some creek crossings, but there's tons of mushrooms, wild blackberries, birds, some wildlife out there. It's really cool. Okay, and then one a little bit closer to Houston on the north side is Lake Houston Wilderness State Park, and you can get a lot of mileage out here. Every time I've gone to this park, it's been, there's people go to this park, but you can find good trails that aren't that crowded. I really enjoy this park, and right now they are building the highway over there, so I would go to it as soon as possible because right now you can't really hear that much street traffic, but I don't know what it's going to sound like once the highway gets put in. So that's one I definitely check out sooner than later. Okay, somehow my really good slides didn't make it in here. So let me see. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. All right. So normally we don't normally we do a hiking event with you guys after this, but right now we're not doing that open to the public yet. So what we're going to do, we're going to do something different. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let me know if you can see let me know if you can see the Hiking 101 presentation that says Discover Houston Hiking. And it might look weird for a second because I got to bounce back and look at the comments. So if there's a little bit of delay, can you guys see the screen that says Discover Houston Hiking? Just put in the comments section if you can see the screen that says Discover Houston Hiking. Okay. All right. You guys can see it. Great. So, because we're not doing any public hikes right now at the moment, we wanted to continue teaching you guys more about hiking and helping you get out there hiking and getting active and discovering Houston. So what we decided to do is make an online hiking course. So what this is going to go through is basically today we just covered at the highest level the different things that you need to think about when you are going to go hiking. But in this online hiking course, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next level and we're going to talk about each one of these areas in a lot more detail. We're going to answer all of your questions. It's going to be more interactive. We're going to have videos and downloads. So things we're going to cover are, types of hikes and how to determine level of difficulty, trail etiquette so you don't look like a beginner, more details on how to read maps, and we're going to go into several different examples based on, where you're starting from. So like a beginner map versus, a little bit more advanced map. Safety, how to research trails, things to consider, like we started talking about weather, what to bring with you. We talked about a little bit, but we're going to go expand that based on the type of hike that you're doing. Gear recommendations. We're also going to cover how to plan your hike, how to prepare for your hike, picking a goal hike, creating a schedule for that, ramping up for your goal hike, and where to hike. We're going to break that down into easy trails, intermediate trails, expert trails, and much more. So some of the other things that we're going to talk about, some of the other things that you're going to get are all of our checklists for hiking, some of our itineraries for our favorite places to go hiking. So we're going to talk to you about some of our, trips that we do, like Big Bend, and how we do it and what to expect. And all of that. This is going to be an online course, like I said, with videos. We're going to take some videos at some of our favorite locations around Houston, so we can show you exactly what you are going to expect when you show up to a park with your map. And this is going to start next Wednesday. We're going to do this together for about 4 to 6 weeks. And we're building the course as we go along with you. So I think that's what makes this is so great for the first group of people that are going to go through this, is that we're going to, we've got the basic outline, but if we want to go deeper on a particular area that you want to talk about or that you want to learn more about, we're going to see how we can work that in. And of course, you're going to get to submit all of your questions, and we're going to answer all of those questions for you. And because this is the first time we're doing this, and you're going to be the first group that we're going through it, we know that there's going to be some kinks that we're going to have to work out, along the way, figure out what's the best way to do things. But so we're going to create a founders circle. What the founders circle is going to be is you're going to have unlimited access to the entire course with all of the updates that we make for the life of this course. That's not typically how we're going to do the online courses probably going forward. Normally it'll just be the course is done. You go through the course at your own pace, and then, and then that's it. But you're going to get access to every upgrade that we ever do to this course if you're part of the Founders Circle. In addition, we're going to be going through this together every single week. So every week I'm going to get your input. I'm going to figure out what's working, what's not working, what else you want to see. So you're going to receive a lot of extra personal training and with the specific types of things you want to talk about for hiking. And like I said, most online courses are built already. So you just go in and you do the work on your own, and then you're done. And then once it's built, you can go back to it as many times as you want. Normally something like this, and probably once we're done, once it's built and we figured it all out, we're probably going to sell this for around $197. But because you're going to be in the Founders Circle, you're going to get all of that. Plus, when we roll out our next Hiking 102, and actually I'm going to change this to the next course that we roll out. It doesn't have to be Hiking 102. You can have free access to that. So, because we do other things like camping and everything. So for the Founders Circle, to get into the Founders Circle today, you can get in with lifetime access for just $47. If you're already a member of BCO, Bayou City Outdoors, or HTXoutdoors, you do not have to pay for this. You're going to get it for free. Just send me an email at amyhope@htxoutdoors.com or info@BayouCityOutdoors.com. Let me know that you want access to it, and then we'll get you set up. So you don't need to buy this if you're already a member. If you're not a member already and you're interested, all you have to do is go to this website. Oops. Oh boy. Go to this website, HTXoutdoors.com, modules/discover Houston hiking. Let me go back to the presentation so it's a little bit bigger. So HTXoutdoors.com/modules/discover Houston hiking. And when I click on this, I'm going to post it in the comment section in a second here. I just can't go back because of the screen share makes it weird. But when you click on this, what you're going to see here's the page that you're going to see. It doesn't matter if you're in Bayou City Outdoors or HTXoutdoors. That doesn't matter. Everyone's going to go through this site just because the software is developed on this site. So don't worry about which company name it says. Everybody's going to go through here. What it looks like is it's going to be like this. It's going to tell you you're not enrolled. You just click this enroll button and to buy the class. And then here are the modules. We're going to go through trail basics, how to plan a hike. You can expand it. Like I said, I put a basic outline in here, but we're going to expand this as I get your feedback. The very first thing we're going to do is get a survey from you to figure out exactly what you want to get out of the course and what your questions are. I put some tentative dates in here about when the modules are going to be opened, but as fast as we build it, we'll open them faster if we finish them before those dates. Okay. Yeah. And then at the end, we're going to plan a hike and we're going to figure out where we are at that point. We'll break out into groups and we'll go for a hike. So I'm going to jump back. I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second and I'm going to copy and paste the link into the chat box. So the link is now in the chat box. If you didn't get that to type it in, go ahead and click that link. And what do you guys think about that? This is the first time we're doing it. Does that sound like something that you guys are interested in? So while we're doing that, I will go through the questions. Gina asked, is there a hiking map app for iPhones that you recommend? I don't have an iPhone, but I'm pretty sure All Trails app works on both phones, and you can track your hikes there. You can also follow me on All Trails. I've just started to kind of populate all of the trails and the hikes that we do and record them so that you can follow us and see where we're going and what we're doing. So I'm really just kind of getting started on that one. So I'm going to have to get back to you on how to follow me. I don't really know how to do that yet. All right, great. So click the link, join the online class. Like I said, we're going to get started next Wednesday, but go ahead and join now because I need to see how many people we're going to get. And I want to get your surveys in. The very first thing that you'll have access to is a survey for your hiking experience, what your challenges are, what questions you have, what do you want to get out of it? Because I'm going to use that information to start building the first week of videos and downloads and lots of cool stuff. So I'm super excited about this. I hope you guys join us for it. Is anyone having any problems with the link? Is it working? If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments section. Otherwise, you can send an email to I'm going to put my emails in here. You can reach out to me on either of these emails. It doesn't matter which one. And we can get your questions answered through email as well. Okay. So I think the Founders Circle, there's probably going to be some random, surprise bonuses throughout the course too, just as we start doing things and start building things. You guys are going to get access to some cool stuff that we do. So, all right. That's all I got for today. So I hope to see you guys in the online course. And I hope you got something out of today. And you're going to get the replay for today's session tomorrow. So if you want to go back and kind of re-listen to a particular part, you can do that. We're also going to upload the video into the online course so that you'll have access to it. You don't have to worry about keeping up with an email link. So it'll be right there where you can find it very easily. All right, I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off now, and I'll send you guys additional information through email just so you don't lose these links that are in the chat box. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys later.